So tensions have been simmering for a long time, but erupted after a deadly fire that killed at least 10 people, but maybe much more. The victims were trapped in a high-rise apartment in Beijing, a building. It was sealed shut to prevent them from leaving. In fact, it took firefighters 150 minutes to put the blaze out, as fire trucks had to wait for road barriers and other obstructions to be removed. Joining me now, editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk, Lisa Daftari. Lisa, you know what's really interesting to me? It's remarkable when President Xi took over, let's just call him ruler for life, at the end of the Congressional Congress, the number of cases skyrocketed, the number of cities have skyrocketed. Is this a coincidence? Is there a connection there?
There may be. Look, we're looking at 40,000 cases a day right now. That's what China is citing as the reason for the zero COVID policy and all the lockdowns. Best case scenario, it's flu season. They have a huge population, people living in close quarters, especially in the more crowded cities. And worst case scenario, this is more of the power grab. This is exactly what the Chinese government would want to do to suppress any sort of dissent or any opposition. And this is the best way to do it. They become the infallible voice.
In the meantime, the protests have been bolder than anything we've seen in a long time. I've seen a lot of creative forms of protest. I think the question everyone's asking, though, is will it make a difference?
Right, and that's probably the best question to ask in any one of the global protests we're seeing at the moment. This is not just a COVID protest, and I know a lot of media reports will tell you it is. That may have been the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, and people came out because of that. But what we're hearing on the streets of China is for President Xi to step down. They're calling for an end to communism. This is a much bigger movement than what we're seeing in terms of just a COVID protest.
So what's interesting is President Biden just recently, a week or two ago, recommitted to this sort of one China policy. So does that mean that we, the United States, not going to really do much to help these citizens who are, to your point, seeking freedom?
Right. Well, the Biden administration, in terms of its foreign policy, has always had this pick and choose kind of buffet where it comes to human rights, right? So we may see these movements on the street. We may see a lot of brutality on the streets, just like we're seeing in the Iran movements. But that's not part of their foreign policy. The Biden foreign policy, when he came in, even as a candidate, it was very similar to the Obama foreign policy, a lot of appeasement. But what's happened in the Biden administration is that global affairs have not been parallel to, have not responded to, corresponded to the foreign policy that the Biden administration has set out.
Right.
So now they're responding to something that does not match what's going on globally. So yes, we have normalized relations with China. It doesn't leave us much room to speak out about human rights.
You know, you mentioned Iran. I think what's going on there is absolutely amazing. Again, the administration not saying much, and you wonder how much this has to do with them still hoping that that Paris deal, not the Paris deal, the Iranian nuke deal goes through.
Right.
Is there a way we could help the Iranians who clearly, the people clearly, we've seen this groundswell, they want something different?
Absolutely. They've entered the third month of protest. The death toll is rising. They're rounding up very famous soccer players and artists and poets and rappers. And it seems like the global community is silent on their movement. But the Iranian people are saying, please tell our stories. I speak to them daily. We've been covering this for a very long time at the Foreign Desk. And the best thing we can do is keep this story in the spotlight, share it on social media, and allow those citizen journalists to get their story out. They want this regime gone, and they are not making, they're very clear about that message. We're hearing it on the streets, and they're willing to fight till the end of it. They're losing their lives, very young people. This is a protest across the country, and they hope to have some results from it.
Well, I got to tell you, you're doing an amazing job chronologing it, and we're watching. And, I think there's a lot of people in this country that would love to find a way to help all of these folks. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Of course. Thank you.